Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Grow Your Life podcast. My name is Jeremiah Krakowski. On this podcast, we talk about ways for you to grow in your coaching business, your mentoring business, how to make more money and increase your income. Now today, I want to talk about the mindset for making money. Here's the thing, is that in this economy right now, if you look at what economists have said, you have to be making about $150,000 to $200,000 a year to even qualify for low middle class. And that's sounds insane to most people because it hasn't been that case for their entire life, not even 3 years ago. And what's happened is that's a hyperinflationary cycle that has happened in the world. It's by design, and I think, quite frankly, that we are inundated with messaging to keep us broke, to keep us struggling, to keep us from wanting to make more money. Because here's the thing, is people don't want to make more money because they don't want to pay more in taxes. But you got to make more to even survive. And so then if you make less, you get free resources. The government takes care of you. And what this is doing is literally creating a society and a culture where it's better to stay broke for most people because they don't want to work hard enough. They don't want to gain new skills. They don't want to do the things to progress forward. And by the way, if what I just said offends you, you're like, well, you don't know my situation. You don't know that. I want you to understand, I'm not blaming you. What I'm saying is that it is 10 times harder now than it ever was, but you're going to have to either pick your heart. You're either going to be completely controlled, paid for by the federal government, or your friends and family, or you can provide for yourself and have a business. Or you can work a job, but the problem is most jobs are not paying you six figures right now. And so the only option for most people is to have a business. That's what I help people with, is to take their knowledge and information and actually create a online course, digital product business, or coaching business. And I've been doing that for the last 21 years, is helping people to be able to accomplish that. And so what I want to tell you is that we have to, in order to kind of reach that level, we have to shift our mindset and thinking about money. And you have to shift out of this, like, well, I wish stuff was cheaper. And, oh, I need to save more mindset. And, oh, I just need to cut back and live, like, smaller. Because, again, that's great. That keeps you out of debt. That's a great first step, right? But you got to shift into, I got to make more money. And I need to figure out what it takes to do that. And I got to structure my life in a way to where I can increase my income. And you can't listen to the messages that are being inundated in our society that it's evil or wrong to do that. And that you're a bad person who's taking away from somebody else for doing that. And that's just simply not true. And so if you are listening to this right now, you know, my family has made tens of millions of dollars with courses and coaching over the years, provided an exceptional life for my family where, you know, I grew up on welfare. I grew up in a family where we didn't have enough money at all. And by the grace of God, my mom, she actually started a business online over 31 years ago. She's one of the first people on the internet that started a business. She didn't know how to have a clue what she was doing. But like by accident, pretty much, made a ton of money and then learned quite a bit over the years. She's like, if I knew what I knew now back then, we might be billionaires. I'm like, probably, you know, but like you didn't, you know, 31 years ago. But like she was there at the opportunity and she got a couple of things right, but like, you know, barely know what she was doing. But we were at the right place at the right time, learning the internet. And then I learned a lot about how to do a lot of stuff on the internet. And just growing up in that household, got working in the industry, online sales and marketing 21 years ago, and have loved it. Haven't looked back ever since. I love storytelling. I love telling stories. I love the way that story can shape people, but you got to learn to sell, and you got to learn to actually get people to buy from you. And so we can't just sit around and tell stories all day and not pay the bills. And so that's what I had to learn, is I had to figure out, okay, it's not my natural personality to sell. When I wanted to start my own business, for the first time, I bombed completely and said, I'll never do business again. I'll just work for somebody else. This was years ago. And after that, I realized there were skills that people who make the most amount of money have, and they think differently about money, but they also think differently about getting it. And so that's what I want to share with you here today. Number one, getting out of that scarcity mindset. Stop listening to all of the messaging of culture and society and everybody else who's out there who's telling you you need to do this in order to be a quote-unquote good person. You're evil if you're not. Like, that's some crazy stuff that's going out there. Like, you're literally being demonized for wanting to provide for your family now, legitimately. And so you can't listen to that crud that's out there. And then you gotta shift out of a scarcity mindset. And this is going to be this is probably one of the hardest parts, because we're like, well, if I don't have a lot, how am I not going to be in scarcity? Because that's all we know. As people, we're programmed to, if I don't have right now, I'm in scarcity. And so it literally tweaks our brain to not operate in struggle, even though we're in a situation that is considered struggle. Does that make sense? Let me explain it another way. You do not have to feel or operate as a human based on your environment or circumstances. And that's the key. And that's the number one key that you have to do to be able to increase your income, is you have to operate out of a different frame and framework of your humanity in order to increase your income, in order to make more money. Otherwise, you're just going to keep repeating the same cycle, because what happens is you go from becoming a certain person by believing that you are, and then your actions follow. A lot of people have it wrong, where they think, oh, I'm going to do something, I'm going to take action, and that's going to turn me into the person that can do these things. And that's simply not the case. It always starts internally first. It always starts up here first, where you get a vision for what you're creating. You get a vision for the life that you're creating. You get a vision for the kind of income that you're creating. You get a vision for the kind of result that you're creating. And I'll tell you this, you got to maintain that vision, because life will try to beat it out of you. Right now, these little devices right here, there is messaging, if you scroll your social media, that is trying to tell you to not make money. And you'll get ads that are like, hey, buy this, do this, all that. By the way, I run ads. I teach people how to run ads. I have a coaching program that I run ads to get people to join coaching programs where I show them how to make more money. Okay, so understand that I'm in that world doing that, but you cannot be a consumer of the content that is telling you that it's wrong to make money. And you need to start paying attention to and listening to different voices. If the internal dialogue in your head is struggle, lack, insecurity, doubt, fear about money, what are you paying attention to? You know, last week I had a moment of a lapse of judgment, shall we say, where I went on social media, and it was right around when the stock market had crashed. They were talking about the war with Iran and Israel, and I got scared for like a whole night. I felt some real fear. And I was operating from a place of terror and fear, which is exactly the way to pretty much like destroy our lives, is if we operate in that. And so here's what you got to do, is you got to have, okay, here's the situation over here. But then over here, these are weird props, I know. But over here, here's the situation of what's going on. You got war, rumors of war, stock market, inflation. You got to increase your income. The dollar doesn't go as far as it did. And then you have this as your mindset, where you're operating as if those things are not the reality that you're operating from. That you operate from abundance. That I believe that great things happen when I take action. That I'm believing that my income will be increasing by doing these things. And I actually go out there and actually do the work. I'm not just believing, but I'm actually putting it into practice. You know, one of the biggest ways to know if you're operating in fear is if you are not taking action on the things that you have decided to do. You're sitting around taking a year for your funnel. You're sitting around taking months and months and months to feel ready to put your offer out there. That means that you're operating in fear and worry. You might not call it fear and worry. You might call it wisdom. You might call it a spirit of excellence. Gosh, I see people, they literally justify their fear as a spirit of excellence. Well, here's how that works. Well, I couldn't present myself in such a way that would make me look that way to people without it being at a higher level. So I'm going to wait until I feel good about it. And that's wisdom. No, it's not. It's fear. It's operating out of fear. It's operating out of worry. And I meet so many people. I want to make sure I set the perfect first impression. Okay? I don't mean to be cocky here, but I'm saying that that's exactly what that is. And so when we become so concerned with how we look to everybody else, it destroys our life. I get caught up in that trap myself as well. I've been caught up in that trap. I'm worried about the negativity that I hear from people. It sometimes eats away at my mind if I ruminate on it. And I have to literally stop those thoughts in their tracks. I have to be intentional to stop those thoughts in their tracks and to not follow through with them. When you can learn that you have control over your feelings, you have control over your perceptions, you have control over your reality. Have you ever heard, like, we don't have control over our feelings, we're going to just feel it any certain way? That's actually not entirely true. And again, if you've experienced trauma and all of that, it is very hard. I've spent years in therapy till I finally realized, okay, I actually can control these feelings. If I'm feeling sad, maybe it might take me a couple hours to not feel sad. But I can change my focus of what I'm focusing on. What am I letting be in my imagination? What am I letting operate in my mind? What am I letting control and dominate my mental space? To start to see life in a different perspective, in a better perspective, in a clearer perspective, in one that's not worried or fearful about what's going to happen. Am I doing everything perfectly? Is this all going well? Am I making a mistake here or there? Am I doing all the right things? We can get so caught up in our head. We can get so caught up thinking about all the ways things can go wrong. And it's a skill to not do that. And you might say, well, that has nothing to do with making money. It absolutely does. Because if your brain is literally wired in a way to not do the things that will make you money, because you are sitting around waiting until it feels better for you, instead of realizing that you have complete control over how things feel in your life, you will be sitting around waiting for hours and hours and hours. And I found myself doing that because I bought into that lie for a while. And I tried to operate in that. You know, what's interesting is I never operated in that for the longest time until I started feeling like, oh, well, you got to honor everybody's, experiences and everybody's feeling these different. It's like, I'm just like, okay, I get that. But if you want to be in the top 1% or 2% of people, and yes, that's exactly where I want to be. It's exactly where I want you to be. It's exactly where my family is. We're in the top 1% of families in the whole country as far as income goes. Is to not allow your feelings to dominate your actions. And to really start to become intentional with those things day by day by day, to say, I'm going to take every thought captive. I'm going to take whatever I'm feeling right now, and I'm not going to let that control me and decide for me how I'm going to be. I'm going to choose this day what I'm going to focus on. And so if you're focused on lack, you're focused on insecurity, you're focused on your physical body's not feeling well, you're focused on all the stuff that's not going right, you're focused on your bank account, your taxes, all that stuff, that will dominate your space in the negativity. Now, you got to still deal with those things, but you want to come from a place of hope, abundance, joy. faith, belief. And what ends up happening is you are believing for something that's better. And you end up literally guiding your brain, controlling where you're putting your focus. And then those things start to come in your life. You start recognizing opportunities. You start recognizing what the right moves to make are. You start recognizing the better choices to make. I'm going to give you a great example right here. You just heard my nose. I have a little bit of a head cold right now, yet I am making probably one of the best podcasts I've ever done. Why? Because I didn't let this control me today. Yes, I've been taking it a little bit easier, a lot easier. I'm working at like 50% capacity. But I knew that I had to get this message out. And it was Friday. That's when I record these podcasts usually. I was working on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. No, I'm not. I decided to make those be family time. By the way, that's actually made things really great for me mentally and our family. It's amazing. And so, all that to say, like, no matter what situation you're going through, we can think about all the quotes about money and stuff like that, but where are you putting your focus? That has more to do with your ability to increase your income than anything else. Are you seeing opportunities? Are you believing for opportunities? Are you believing that things can get better for you? Are you believing that from one day to the next, things don't have to suck? Or do you think that, well, if all these things come into alignment for me, then they'll be better? Are you waiting for things in your external life to come into alignment before you feel good? Or are you deciding what dictates what feeling good means or not? Did you know that you can actually, and again, I have worked with people with any number of situations, and I have so much empathy for the situations that people are in. It's a choice, no matter what situation we're in, to let those things dominate our mind space. It's a choice to let a diagnosis dominate our mind space. It's a choice to let a situation take over our life, simply because things aren't going how we want them to. Simply because the economy is going one way, or somebody's getting elected or something. I don't know who's going to get elected in our country. But I know whoever is, that's not going to be what's going to determine my future. There's one candidate that's probably going to be a lot better for business than another. But that's not going to determine my future, because I'm still going to go to work, and I'm still going to have to decide. There's still going to be tough days, hard days. And that's where you got to shift, is that you and your life is not determined and dictated by what's going on in your environment. Your environment will always have things going on. This week we had some fire ants that started coming into our house. We had to take care of them. We do natural pest control. Natural pest control means we don't lay out poison. Poison, with our dogs and my son, he chews on his shoe. Right? I mean, he's a little kid. Like, well, we try not to have him chew on his shoe. He chews on the Velcro, so it's not that bad. But the dogs, they lay in that and they lick their paws, and so you got to be careful with that. So we use all natural stuff, and it's a little different. It's a little bit more work, but we took care of it. We took care of those things. In our physical bodies. I've been on a health journey over the last 8 months, almost a year, really, actually. It takes making decisions. It takes making choices. Even when things don't feel perfect, even when we're not sure how things are going to go, to decide to do the best thing for us. Now, when it comes to you actually shifting your mindset about money, realize that it's a blessing to ask people to buy stuff from you for them, that you're benefiting another person, and that it doesn't detract or take away from them, that you're not putting a burden on somebody else for charging money for something. And then realize that that's an exchange of value. And so then when you're able to exchange that value with people, it is a blessing. You become a blessing to others by providing an opportunity that you can exchange value for. And if you don't provide that opportunity, if you don't put that out there, or you're like, oh, I'll just give it away for free. Can I tell you this? Giving stuff away for free, I've tried it, does not help people. It doesn't. You'll be like, well, you're doing a free podcast. My business that I charge money for helps far more people than this free stuff that I do. This free stuff is part of my marketing material that markets to build up my coaching business, that I use to market to build up the following and the audience that I have, so people know what it's like to work with me. I'm a straight shooter. Not everybody's cup of tea. It's okay. But those that I meant to work with, they love it. And their lives are changed. Their lives are made better. And listen, every piece of content I put out there is going to change and transform somebody's life if they let it. But I'll tell you, the ones who actually invest get the most out of it. And the ones who invest the most amount of money, I have some one-on-one clients. I have some consulting clients. They invest tens of thousands of dollars to work with me. And those are the ones that actually get the most out of working with me. And so it takes shifting yourself out of a scarcity mindset, realizing that by charging what you're worth, you are a blessing to other people, and that you're able to be a blessing by doing that. And that it does not have to be a struggle. It does not have to be striving. It's a struggle when we choose for it to be. Again, I don't mean to say that to sound insensitive. Sorry if that's offends somebody. Because I know everybody's got situations. We all got issues. We all got stuff going on in our life. But we can choose to feel amazing no matter what's going on in our life. We can choose to focus on the way things are working out for us instead of against us. We can choose to see things coming together for us in our favor instead of against us. And that becomes a choice. And that's one of the number one choices that people can make when it comes to making money, is realizing that even the fact that you're listening to this right now, every moment in your life has led up to this moment in time right here where you're hearing this. And maybe this might be the first time it sinks in. And then you got a choice to make. Am I going to just go back to the life that I had before and continue struggling, continuing making excuses, continuing to decide why I'm not moving forward? Or to shift perspectives and to say, you know what? No matter what's going on, I'm going to decide to do something better. I'm going to decide that my life is not just what's been handed to me. That I'm not just going to accept things for how they've been given to me. That I'm going to start to believe for more, believe for better, start learning the skills that I need, start putting the skills into practice. Start being the person that I need to be to move forward. Start showing up with a different energy. Start having more faith in possibilities. Start having more faith in God. And watch Him and you partner together to bring stuff together in your life. We don't have to struggle, my friends. You don't have to struggle. Struggle is a choice. It's a mindset. It is not a situation. Because you can be in any situation and still decide that it's not a struggle. You know, one of my favorite books, The Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, talks about this. We can choose that when obstacles come, that when hard things come, that when hard situations come, that we're going to keep in happiness, because that's the only thing that's going to help us move forward and make a better situation. Sitting in lack, sitting in worry, sitting in complaining, sitting in, God, this sucks. Allowing depression to take over, laying on the couch and ruminating on how things should be different. Zoning out on social media. We end up programming our brain to zone out instead of making our life better. And it's a choice. What are you going to choose to do? Are you going to choose to just accept things for how they are? Again, you want to accept things. You want to let go of trying to control situations, of course. It's twofold. We have to do something different. We have to set an intention. And then when we set our intention, we let go of trying to control the outcome. We let go of that and we release it and surrender it. Give it to God. And we trust that that process is going to work. We start trusting the process. We start trusting in those actions instead of needing to control every aspect before we let go and put it out there. And I think that's one of the biggest downfalls and detriments that I meet with so many coaches and mentors is why they're not making that kind of money, is they're trying to control everything in their life to make things better for them. They're trying to force everything to come together better for them. When what if you just accepted that you're in the best possible situation you could possibly be in right now? No matter what situation you're in, it is the best possible situation. The best possible right now for you. Because what are the lessons to learn in it? What can you come out of in that? What can you discover in that? And when you start to see that, you start to recognize all of the opportunities that you have everything you need in your life right now to accomplish and experience every dream that you ever had. You can. All right? Listen, I hope that this has encouraged you, inspired you. Share this podcast episode with somebody. Listen to it again and again and again. Let it sink in. And start to listen to this message deeper. Grow your life, everybody. We'll talk soon. Have a good one.